Hey friends, are you wondering what to plant in your garden this August? Well, this month is going to be a very exciting month for planting. You might be surprised with the things I'm going to suggest that you start growing right now. So stick around because I'm going to share with you what vegetables you can start this month, which are a lot. The projects I have going on, you don't want to miss that one, guys. It is a special month. And then, of course, a special tip that will help you get the most out of your garden. Plus, I have a seed giveaway that you won't want to miss. So let's get started. Patrina here with Homegrown Florida. We are definitely in the full swing of summer at this point. It is hot. It's miserable. But this is the official end of summer for us here down in the south before the upcoming months will be the switch for us to move into the fall season. And that is a very big switch for us, which is why the list of vegetables you can grow is about to dramatically change. I'm going to do something a little bit different than what I normally do. I usually give you a list of things that you can start for the whole state, but this month is a special month. There are basically 2 months during the year where things change really dramatically, and those 2 months are August and February. And August is the change from summer to fall, and a lot of things start changing very quickly. So for example, instead of North Florida being behind my Central Florida schedule and South Florida being ahead, everything swaps. So North Florida is now ahead of my schedule and South Florida is behind. The reason for this is because North Florida will hit colder weather first, so they need to get their fall veggies started more quickly, where South Florida has a couple more months before they start to feel a break in the heat and the pest pressure. So I'm going to be giving this month's lists of veggies to plant by your area in Florida. So I'm going to start with North Florida. You guys can start beans, beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, celery, Chinese cabbage, collards, cucumbers, eggplants, kale, mustard, bunching onions, peppers, squash, tomatillos, tomatoes. You can keep growing the tropical spinaches and then add turnips. So basically all the warm season crops and a lot of the long growing cold season crops. So almost everything. You have 1 more month before you can start shorter cold season vegetables, things like radishes and lettuce. Now Central Florida, you can start beans, carrots, cowpeas, which are our summer, eggplant, okra, bunching onions, peppers, pineapples, squash, tomatoes, tomatillos, and tropical spinaches. This means that you can start our long growing warm season crops. You can keep growing some of the summer crops, and it looks like we got 1 cold season crop that's starting, which is carrots. I don't care what the seed packet says, carrots take forever to grow down here. I don't know why, but they do. It's basically like 1 month to germinate and then about 3 months to grow roots. But next month, we are going to be starting the long season or long growing season crops for the cold weather. So all those things that we just talked about in North Florida will be next month, including bulbing onions. So I'm so stoked, guys. South Florida, you guys are still in the summer crops. Sorry. You do have a couple new ones though, but you can grow amaranth, eggplant, okra, papaya, peppers are back on the list, pineapple, regular pumpkins and Seminole pumpkins, your squashes, summer and winter, sweet potatoes, tomatillos, tomatoes, and tropical spinach. So you guys still have another month of summer crops, but you can start a few of the warm season crops like those tomatoes and peppers. You have 1 more month for the rest of the warm season crops like beans and cucumbers. Now you can see why I wanted to split this up by area this month. Next month will be a bit more similar, just like with a couple variations, kind of normal to what we have had in the past. If you are loving these monthly videos, head down and hit that notification bell below. You'll be the first to know whenever I release a new video that you will not want to miss. Besides all the seeds I'm starting this month, there was a lot of tasks that need to be done in the garden this month to start preparing for the fall season garden. Most of these things I do towards the end of the month. So first, I start with clipping down all my cover crops and laying them out in my beds as a mulch to give them a chance to break down. In the past, I did different methods like digging a trench and burying them or just laying them on top as mulch. This year, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to give them a haircut, leaving about 3 feet remaining to regrow till the end of the month. So I'll chop them off at the top, leaving 3 feet, spread that out into some of the beds that don't have cover crops, and then I'll just keep letting those cover crops continue to grow, and towards the end of the month I'll chop all of it down and let it fall straight into the beds. Cover cropping does a lot of really good things for your soil, like giving it biomass, which just means bulking it up for any of the shrinkage that has occurred. It gives it nutrients because cover crops like sun hemp and cowpeas adds nitrogen back to the soil. Leaving the roots of the cover crop down into the soil provides aeration and food for the ecosystem of life that's growing in your soil. Things like worms and bacteria that are crucial for feeding your plants, all those micronutrients it needs, and finally, mulch is so incredibly important in the garden, and cover crops are perfect for mulch. Especially a hot climate like Florida. It is by far the best thing that you can do for your garden. It's crazy. I didn't do this for so many years of my early garden experience, and I struggled so much with watering and nutrients. Mulch solves all those problems. You're probably going to think I'm lying, but in the middle of summer, I only water my beds maybe 2 or 3 times a week at most. They stay moist all summer long. I saw folks online watering their plants 2 times a day, but you can avoid all that with some very, very thick mulch. My favorite is grass clippings or the cover crop material, because something about the live green material really locks in moisture, much more than something like wood chips or leaf litter. But if that's all you have, use it. Anything helps. The next project I do in the garden is start laying out all my compost. Once I've laid down the cover crops, I start laying fresh homemade compost down right on top of it, creating those layers. If you haven't started composting yet, it is so good for the garden. The plants just adore compost. They grow strong, they produce more, they retain water, and they fight disease and pests so much more than they would without it. Unfortunately, I have not seen the same results using store-bought compost. It's not bad, but the dramatic improvement in the soil is when you make it your own. I'm not over-exaggerating here. You don't even need a huge pile. Just grab a trash can or a tumbler and just start dumping stuff in there. There's a lot of science out there on how much ratios you need from greens to browns, but the easiest way to build compost is just to start dumping all your kitchen scraps, dead leaves, grass clippings, junk mail, cardboard, paper towel rolls like the inserts when you're done using them, anything you have except meat and oil. Once a week, I clean out my fridge and I'll find a bowl of salad I forgot about that's slimy and moldy. Drop that in. Strawberries going bad? Drop those in. Bowl of rice sat too long after dinner? Drop that in. If your bread went stale? Drop that in. Tea bags, coffee grinds, eggshells. Chuck it in there. It's a good idea to chop all that stuff up, but about a year ago I stopped doing that and I just chuck it in there and it all breaks down with no issue. Well, except the eggshells. Those things last forever, but it's fine. I don't mind like half broken shells in my compost. My point here is it doesn't need to be this whole scientific experiment. I mean, it's garbage. Treat it like garbage. You just put it in a different bin. Another thing I'll be doing this month is ordering my seed garlic. I got mine from a place called Garlic Gods this last year and I was very pleased. We won't actually plant these until November or December, but you need to get them into the fridge to fertilize. I like to leave them in the fridge for 12 weeks, so 3 months, but at minimum you need to do 6 weeks. If you order them this month, you should get them by September and they'll be ready to plant by the end of November or early December, which is perfect. Because we have to order our garlic so early to be able to vernalize them in the fridge, we will be ordering at the same time that our northern friends are, so get your orders in now and you shouldn't have a problem getting them in time. Otherwise, you will be waitlisted and you may not get them till much later, and then you won't have enough time to vernalize them. If you don't vernalize them, there's a very strong and real possibility that they will not bulb. And vernalizing just means making them cold. So if you do not get them now, or you don't get them next month, and you don't get them in that fridge, you're going to make this beautiful green plant without the bulbs that you're looking for. That's not fun. This is also the best time to order your seed potatoes. You can definitely grab some organic ones from the store, but I had the best luck with a company called Grand Tetons Organics for my seed potatoes last year. So maybe give them a shot, check them out. Now let's get into the special tip for the month. Tomatoes are on the list for all 3 Florida areas, but tomatoes can be a little tricky to germinate, especially when it is in the dead heat of summer. They don't like to germinate when the temps are super high. So I have 2 tricks that I do. My tried and true way is to start them in a hydroponic system indoors. So something like an arrow garden, you know, the little tabletop arrow gardens, I let them germinate and get them to about 4 to 6 inches tall, and then I pull them out and I plant them in a pot with a really moist soil. That's the trick when you're moving them from a hydroponic system to outside, is that the soil must be really moist. I place them in the shade outside for about a week, and then I move them to a partial morning sun spot with deep afternoon shade the rest of the day. This is basically hardening off, but not the hardening off that our northern friends do for cold weather. We are hardening them off to prepare them for the summer hot weather. If you don't have a hydroponic system, try starting your seeds indoors in trays. I like to use the 2-inch trays rather than the 1-inch, so I don't have to stress about them needing to be up potted or transplanted soon. I usually germinate them inside with the humidity dome near a window until they break the surface. You don't need a special light for this, but you do have to pay very close attention. I cannot stress this enough. When they break the surface of the soil, they need light, and a window just isn't going to cut it. They're going to get, if you keep them by the window, they're going to get leggy and they're going to die. So you have to supplement the light. You can do it either by taking them outside, which is great. You just have to watch them because they will dry out really bad. Or if you do have some sort of light inside that you can use, a grow light, that would be even more ideal. If you are going to move them outside to a spot, make sure it's only 2 to 3 hours of morning sun and afternoon shade. Keep the bottom of the tray with water in it so they don't dry out. I know that's kind of counter to what everyone else says in terms of like, don't leave water in the bottom of the tray. And I'm not talking about like inches of water. I'm talking about just a little sliver of water in the bottom of the tray, because they do dry out incredibly fast in our summer. The other problem you might experience if you have to put them outside is the constant rain could drown them. So when I place them outside, I leave the humidity dome on, but I put like the craft sticks or the popsicle sticks in the corners of the trays, and then the dome on top of it. So this allows airflow to get in, but the rain hits the humidity dome and falls right off. It's one of my little tricks, so give it a shot and let me know how it works for you.